And before we go to break, I'd like to invite up Huawei to share a word or two with us. Steve's going to come up. And also I'd like to thank Huawei again for being a sponsor, and also Blue Coat, who spoke to us earlier. Stephen, over to you.
Thanks a lot, Derek. I promise I have very few number of slides because I know everybody's seen a lot of PowerPoints today, and having me give you more PowerPoints is probably the least thing you want to see. My name is Steve Gray. I'm VP and CTO for the U.S. R&D operations here. I also manage this function that we call the U.S. R&D Innovation Center. I always like to relate one story from my past, which I think is kind of interesting relative to Huawei, and also kind of a good snapshot in terms of where Huawei's headed in the future. 10 years ago, I was living in Finland. I was in a room with Sari Baldauf, who was the president of Nokia Networks, and she was going through the market share numbers for the telecom infrastructure, and of course she had the standard players there, Ericsson and Nokia Networks and Siemens Networks, etc. And then there was a small sliver that said Other, which had ZTE and Huawei and some other players. And here we are 10 years later. Huawei, number 2 in wireless infrastructure, number 1 in optical, number 3 in DSLAM technology. Revenues projected for this year are over $30 billion US dollars. So I think it's been one of the most amazing transformations in the industry, at least that I can think of. And the company's going through a pretty amazing transformation today in moving into some new businesses. And it's being motivated really by this ICT convergence in the sense that all the technologies that we are thinking of today, many of which have been talked about data center technologies and applications and so forth, really are being used across multiple industries. And so we can think about how cloud services are impacting enterprises and small businesses, how are they impacting carrier markets, how has it revolutionized the consumer side with the advent of smartphones and tablets and so forth. And so this whole convergence of ICT is really causing a major shift from a business perspective, but based on what I contend to be several core technologies. And just to kind of bring this home, you can think about your smartphone today and the kinds of services that are available on the smartphone, and probably everybody who has an Android or iOS-enabled device, they have LinkedIn, Facebook, etc. This whole social media part, which was really kind of a consumer trend, is really now finding its way into enterprises and driving the Web 2.0 services into the enterprise space. We're thinking about technologies what were really traditionally more considered to be kind of enterprise technologies, such as telepresence, now being taken to the home. So the whole point here is that these technologies are coming of age, and we are really able to take those and capitalize those as part of a new business offering. And Huawei is moving towards an organization and has a target of $100 billion worth of revenue, where the company is focusing on enterprise, so on unified communications, all the data center technologies, switching, routing, etc. The traditional market that has made Huawei successful today, which is in the carrier space, and then finally in the consumer space, with a target of being a top 5 handset vendor in 2 years, based a lot on the work that's been done around Android handsets. So this just gives you a snapshot of some of the R&D projects. I've been with the company for about 2.5 years, and when we started, actually there's a couple of us in the room that started working with Huawei back in the day about 2.5 years ago. There was maybe 150 employees, kind of a sleepy little office. Not too much, I think, in terms of connection with what's going on here in Silicon Valley. That's when I pick up the ball, joined the Telecom Council, and today we're looking at an employee base in North America that's over 1,000 people, with something in the neighborhood of 600 to 700 people in Santa Clara. We now are in the offices that were part of Tel Labs, and looking for a new building because we want to grow what we're doing in enterprise research and development and have run out of space. So just kind of I'm not going to read all the projects, but a pretty strong portfolio, a lot of work in cloud data center technologies, but also we have a world-class team in optical technology. We also have spun up a team that's focused on Android for consumer. Huawei's been making a lot of traction with low-cost Android handsets with several of tier ones, but as I mentioned, moving into the realm of the top 5, the portfolio will expand tremendously in terms of hitting the top part of the market and the bottom part of the market. At one time, we actually had the best-selling tablet, the S7, in Best Buy as well, which was an Android device. So we really are an information-centric organization, meaning that our key assets are really the talents that we recruit here in Silicon Valley. And to date, I think we've done a quite remarkable job in picking up a nice cross-section of people who come from Fortune 500 companies, but also significant number of people who have had experience working in startup companies here in Silicon Valley. It provides a very innovative workforce, and it's given us the ability to start some very interesting and game-changing work. And this is being leveraged by our colleagues in China and driven globally. So our R&D operations here are not just focused on North America. It's basically to seed the innovation engine within inside of Huawei for Huawei's global businesses. We do have a demo set up where you can see some of the technologies that we've developed. One of them is we're doing work in content delivery networks, getting back to the point that this media, something like 60 to 70% of all traffic that's carried on the internet is video traffic, whether it be Netflix or YouTube or actually content which is on demand from an operator's network. We have a CDN which allows you to be able to manage all this traffic and also then allow you to be able to manage the cost in operating the network. You can also drill in and get a lot of data analytics around what's going on with respect to media content. So we have that demo set up. You can also see some of the latest and greatest Android handsets that we have available. And we also have a team member from our enterprise business group who's there who can give you some ideas about some of the new things that we're doing in enterprise. So I hope you'll take the opportunity at the break to drop by our location and speak with some of our staff there. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Stephen. Thank you. Oh, cheers.